Now with our GMA cover story and how the added threat of gun violence can increase what already is back-to-school stress for many students. Dr. Mona Potter, psychiatrist and co-founder of InStride Health, joins us now with a few tips that might help soften the blow, I think. Dr. Mona Potter, thank you for joining us. We were going to have you to talk about stress and kids getting back to school anyway, just on a regular basis, but now you layer in this violence. Where do parents even begin now, this next week?
Yeah, I mean, it is so devastating what the families and the community in Minneapolis are going through right now. And it's already a really stressful time for families as they think about moving from the kind of freedom of summer to the routines of school. Already anxiety there, and a tragedy like this can only compound that stress, that anxiety. It can bring up feelings of uncertainty and just kind of the unpredictability of life. And of course, that can add to the stress and the anxiety.
And the fear.
And the fear. I heard the news on my way to New York yesterday after I had done my own drop-off and back to school with my own kids. And as a mom, as a child psychiatrist, I felt just like a punch in the gut. And my own anxiety went up. And I mean,
well, if yours did, imagine what everybody
did. Right? I mean, I think that's the thing. And it's like, I say this to my patients all the time, and I had to remind myself it is completely normal to feel these feelings. And it's important to allow yourself to feel them. And what's really important is to think about how these feelings are signaling to you, how you're responding to them, and kind of what steps you take in response.
I know so many of us right now are having these types of conversations with our families, with our loved ones. You say there's things that you could be on the lookout for to tell the difference between anxiety, but also the difference between those back-to-school jitters that students are normally getting around this time of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I think about it, anxiety happens on a spectrum. So on the milder end, it can actually be helpful. It can inform us, it communicates to us that something matters to us, and it can motivate us, it can get us alert. For kids, it might get them to prepare for school and reach out to friends. It was my superpower in medical school. I mean, we can really harness it for our benefit. But then as it starts getting more moderate, it can start feeling more uncomfortable, less helpful. Kids might show up with stomach aches, headaches, have a hard time sleeping. They might get more irritable, start avoiding things like going to the cafeteria or speaking up in class. And that it's manageable, but it's distracting, and it's actually kind of exhausting.
It takes a toll.
Totally. And then when it gets to the more severe end is where it just kind of takes over, and it is overwhelming. I mean, I always think about kids do well if they can, and when you're in that severe anxiety mode, it is really hard to do well. It shrinks down the world. Kids will stop going to school sometimes. They'll stop doing the things they love because they are just so overwhelmed by that anxiety.
What are some tips to manage that anxiety, whether it's your own as a parent or perhaps the child going back to school?
Yeah, so there are so many things that we as parents can do to support kids across the whole spectrum of anxiety. And I will say, though, that we always need to start with ourselves. As our parents, like, our emotions and how we feel them, how they show up, really impact our kids. Anxiety can be contagious. And our kids really watch what we're doing more than they listen to what we're saying. And so really actively kind of checking in with ourselves, noticing our own emotions, and deliberately deciding how we're going to respond matters. And then when you approach your child, make sure that you approach with compassion and with curiosity, and really want to listen from their perspective. So rather than jumping into problem solving, make sure that you are validating and understanding and partnering with them.
This generation of kid is dealing with something that they just shouldn't be. There's no doubt about that. And it's hard to keep it from them because it happens when they're away from you. And we're telling parents all the time what to do. There are some things that even well-meaning parents shouldn't do right now?
Yeah, I mean, I would say avoid avoiding. I mean, so after I heard about this, I called my own family, and it turned out my kids already knew. And so rather than try to protect them, it's really important to think about how do we prepare them for the world. And that's going to be different for the little ones, from the middle schoolers, from the high schoolers, but really being attuned to what your kids need and making sure that you're encouraging brave behaviors, break it down into small steps, and really encourage them to take on the world and help them feel like you trust them and you know that they can do it.
Doctor, thank you so much for spending some time with us. It's a conversation we're all having with our friends and families, and hearing that stuff from you helps us frame that conversation.